Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, now we find ourselves in unprecedented times. It looks as if we're not going to be able to put on our play this year, or any other production for that matter. I think we should be looking at writing everything off until this time next year. I don't even think we're going to be able to put on our annual pantomime either. I think we're going to have to just wait and see how it goes. Who knows? The virus might just go as quickly as it came.
Oh, well, by all accounts, we're going to be in this lockdown for a long time.
Well, at least we should all be word perfect when we do get to put on the show.
Right. You asked me, you're all overreacting. I say we plan to go ahead with the production, maybe put it on in October. That'll give time for that virus to disperse.
Oh, don't be so ridiculous. We're not going to be able to put on this performance, or any other for that matter, this year. So just get used to it. I don't think we're about to have 100 people in our village hall anytime soon.
I think we should all listen to Billy. He knows what he's talking about.
Oh, I wondered when you'd have to put your 2 pennyworth in.
Well, really? I was only agreeing with Billy. It's a pity more of you don't show all your support.
Order! Look, perhaps you'd all like to mute your microphones so we don't all talk over each other. Thank you. We actually now need a plan of action. So, Babs, can you make sure that the accounts are all up to date and get them audited? And Rita, can you make sure that everybody knows exactly what's going on? And then I think we'd better have another meeting next month. In the meantime, good night everybody, and stay safe.
Bye.
Stay safe, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Babs, I'm just going out for a walk.
Already been for your daily exercise today?
Well, I'm going out again. Is that okay?
Oh, of course, if you feel you have to. You're not going to meet anyone by any chance, are you?
Don't be so stupid. As I said, I'm just going out for a walk. What's going on? Oh, it's you, is it? I fancied yourself as a bit of a blackmailer, dear. Let's just talk about it.
Hello?
Billy's been murdered.
Babs? I didn't quite hear you. I thought you said that Billy's been murdered.
I just can't believe it. He only went for a walk. Detective Inspector Clouseau wants to talk to the group on Zoom. Can you contact him and then arrange the meeting as vice chair? I can't be there, sorry.
Of course. Yes, Babs. I'm sorry for that terrible news. Take care. I'll be in touch soon. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Yes, well, I've been asked to call the meeting by Detective Chief Inspector Clouseau, who you will see is also attending our meeting. He will now take over to explain exactly what has happened.
Thank you, Monsieur Plum. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
I am afraid I have some very bad news for you. Monsieur Black has been found murdered. His body was found by a dog walker at Quakesby Meadows. He had a wound to the back of his neck and was found drowned in the lake. I will therefore have to visit you all individually over the next few hours, 24 hours perhaps, and make more routine inquiries.
I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but Billy's character in our play that we've been rehearsing was also murdered.
Will, how can you say such a thing?
Well, you would say that, wouldn't you, Belle?
That's a terrible thing to say, Will. What are you implying?
Nothing? Nothing at all?
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, that will do. That's quite enough, thank you.
I was only joking.
Yes, that's as maybe. Who is the director of this play?
I am.
And you are?
Rebecca Rust, Mrs.
Thank you, Madame Rust. Perhaps you could give me a resume of the play, please.
Okay, it might help. I've got a storyboard of the play, so I can share my screen with you so you'll be able to see exactly what's been going on.
That is a good idea, thank you.
Okay, just bear with me. Okay, can you everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So,
Pippa the chambermaid, played by Belle, is very attractive and willing. She's having an affair with Lord Albert, who's played by Billy, and he's paying her for this. Belle is also having an affair with Gerald, Albert's brother, played by Gary. They usually get together after one of his drinking binges. Gerald is not as wealthy as his brother and lives with him as he lost his money gambling, resulting in his wife leaving him. He is also having an affair with Albert's wife, Lady Margaret, played by Babs, which Pippa knows about. Carter the butler, played by Bob, knows about the affairs and posts warning notes about them under Albert and Gerard's doors. Carter also delivers notes to George the gardener, played by Greg, who Pippa is attracted to and with whom she's also having an affair. They all disregard the threatening notes on the basis that they are probably written by someone who's just jealous. These notes are all found by Inspector Gray, played by Will. Mrs. Troughton, the housekeeper, played by Pat, also knows about the affairs, as not much passes her watchful eye. She tells Carter that she thinks Pippa ought to be fired for flaunting herself about the house the way she does. Carter tells her to keep her nose out of other people's business, but overhears her discussing her opinions with Annie the cook, played by Gabby, and decides to put a stop to her interfering once and for all. Martin, the gamekeeper, played by Philip, is very much in love with Pippa, who doesn't give him a second glance. He knows about her and the gardener and is very jealous. He's a very reclusive character and is always seen with dead birds and animals around his neck. Caroline, Margaret's daughter, played by Rita, knows about Lord Albert and Pippa and threatens her, and she doesn't like the way Lord Albert's behaving and thinks her mother will get hurt. She thinks that her mother should have married someone else after her father died instead of Lord Albert, who's taking advantage of her. Carter suffocates his victims, Lord Albert, Gerald and Mrs. Troughton, in their sleep, except George, who he pays a visit to and strangles. He's jealous of the men and thinks that they're taking advantage of Pippa.
Okay, thank you very much, Madame Rust. Do you think you would be able to send me an email copy of the script, please?
Of course.
Just a thought, Inspector. Has a note been found? If it's a copycat murder, maybe there's a note.
Well, so far we have not found any note at all, sir.
So it can't be the same then, it must just be a coincidence.
We will not be ruling anything out at this stage. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I will be in contact with you shortly. If any of you in the meantime have any information which you may feel is relevant, please do not hesitate to contact me on the telephone number I have already given you. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
That was very forward of you, Will.
Well, I'm sorry, everyone. I just feel shocked, and I felt the need to speak up.
Why are you all having a go at me? It's not my fault. I didn't kill him.
Not your fault. Will you all stop having a go at Belle?
Well, if you ask me, everything points towards Bobby, me lad. Is there anything the murder's to go by?
Why, you...
Stop it. Of course it's not Bob. He wouldn't harm a fly.
It's a good job we're not in the same room, or there may be another murder committed.
Are you threatening me?
Gentlemen, now please. Anyway, we've just agreed that it's not like the play and it's just a coincidence.
You're showing your true colours now, Gary. We all know you didn't like Billy.
You can't speak neither.
Look, this isn't getting us anywhere. Unfortunately, Billy did make quite a few enemies, but we can't start accusing each other.
That's right, it could be anyone, as Philip said. I mean, Billy wasn't exactly the most popular person around, was he?
Well, if we're going off popularity, there's a few people I could think of you could target.
I agree, but I'd rather not think about it if you don't mind. I'm sure you're all barking up the wrong tree. Come on, everyone, let's not go down the line of incriminating our friends. It's been a shock for all of us. Well, let's just sleep on it and hope that the whole lockdown business can end soon and we can all get back to our own lives.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
Anyway, it looks as if we're not going to be able to perform the play ever, under the circumstances.
Oh, I don't know. When the dust is settled and this lockdown's over, we can always find another Albert, and this may give us a bit of publicity.
How disrespectful. Billy's only just died. We can't start discussing when we're going to perform the play.
Well said, my dear. You're interested to find out who did commit the murder, and even though it may be a coincidence that a murder has taken place, just like in our play, I still think some of us need to be on our guard, just in case.
Why do you think that, Bob? Do you know something that we don't?
I think we better call it a night. We're not getting anywhere. And we don't want to frighten anyone. Not with this careless talk.
Well, you're thinking that it was me that killed Billy. As much as I probably felt like murdering him at times, it wasn't me.
Well, let's just hope there are no more murders and the murderer is found soon.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Right. I shall now call this meeting to a close. Let's meet online once a week until we can meet in person. Good night.
Okay.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Okay.
Gabby, I'm just going out for a walk.
What, again? You've already been for your daily exercise today.
Well, it's all right, Anna.
Oh, if you feel you have to. Here, you're not meeting anyone by any chance, are you?
Don't start all that again. You know I love you, and I wouldn't do anything to come between us. As I said, I'm just going out for a walk now. Ta-da now. What are you doing here? You Thinks you can blackmail me, don't he? Yeah, I know. Oh!
Hello?
Oh, Phil, it's awful. Gary's been murdered.
Gabby? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said that Gary had been murdered.
I just can't believe it. He only went out for a walk. It's just like what happened to Billy. Detective Chief Inspector Clouseau. He wants to speak to everybody in a Zoom meeting. Could you organise it, please?
Yes, of course, Gabby. Yes, yes.
I won't be able to be there. I'm so sorry.
Take care. I'll be in touch soon.
Okay. Bye.
Right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Yes. Apologies from Will White, who will not be attending this meeting, but I've been asked to call this meeting by Detective Chief Inspector Clouseau, who you will see is joining us tonight. He will now take over and explain what has happened.
Thank you, Mr. Plum. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Good evening.
I am afraid I have some very bad news for you again. Monsieur Gray has been found murdered.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No.
His body was found by a dog walker in Quakesby Meadows. He had a wound to the back of the neck, and he was found drowned in the lake.
Whoa.
No.
Love, really?
Yes. Now that I have read the script of the Murder Manor, I do think that there may be some similarities with these murders and the murders in the play. Everybody must be vigilant. See anything, or hear anything, or suspect anything at all, please do be contacting me immediately.
Ooh. Looks as if you'd better be on your guard, Greg. That's not funny.
Do you know something, Bob? After all, it was your character in the play who committed all the murders, wasn't it? You kill Billy and Gary?
Babs, how could you say such a thing? It's just a coincidence.
What makes you say that, Belle? Do you know something that we don't?
Well, yes, thank you, ladies. I will, of course, be interviewing everyone individually as soon as possible. So, I say thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Yes. Thank you, Detective Chief Inspector. Now, I will call another meeting as soon as possible, but in the meantime, please make sure you stay safe.
Gina, love, I'm just going out for a walk. I need to get a bit of fresh air before I open up the bar. I won't be long. I'll see you later.
So it's you, is it? You fancy yourself as a bit of a blackmailer, do you? Oh no, surely we could talk about this.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello. Hello. Good evening.
Unfortunately, once again, Will White will not be attending this meeting. However, I have been asked to call this meeting by Detective Chief Inspector Clouseau, who you'll see is attending this meeting. He will now take over to explain what exactly has happened.
Thank you, Monsieur Plum. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Good evening, Inspector.
I am very sorry to have to speak to you all so soon as a group again, but unfortunately there has been another murder.
What? Oh, don't tell us. Greg's been murdered.
I'm afraid you are correct. His body was found by a dog walker in Quakesby Woods who had a wound to the back of the neck. And his body was found drowned in the pond. In the same manner as the previous 2 murders. Unfortunately, we are still investigating the other 2 murders, so it may be a while before we get round to talking to you and interviewing you individually. Please be assured that we have every available manpower on the job, and investigations are going on in the background.
Wow.
We are not leaving any stone unturned. Monsieur and Madame Plum, just as a precaution, I think you need to be extra vigilant. It does in fact seem as if someone is following the script.
Oh no!
Play.
Oh, that
In
can't
which
happen.
place, in which Mrs. Plum,
Oh dear.
you may be indeed the next target.
Oh no! Oh God!
Oh no!
I will be in contact with you all very soon. Thank you very much. And good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
We should all calm down here. Just calm down. I don't think we need to be panicking right now. I'm sure this is just a coincidence. We'll be okay, Pat. Don't you worry.
How can you say that? I could be the next target.
No.
Oh, Pat, look, there's no reason why you should be the next victim. Our lives are in no way similar to the characters in the play. Have you done anything that would cause someone to wish you dead?
Well, no, but I don't, you know.
Oh, there you are then. Look, stop worrying. I'm sure that's the end of the murders now.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I hope so, yeah. You think so?
Babs,
Yeah.
Gabby, have you heard any more about the investigations?
No, unfortunately, they can't tell me anything at the moment.
Me neither. It's all so worrying.
Look, is anyone friendly with Gina, Greg's wife? Someone ought to check on her. Maybe you should check how she is, Philip, as representative of the group.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. I'll give her a call. Right, we'll close for this evening. Stay vigilant, everyone, as they keep telling us. Stay home and protect the NHS and save lives. Quite ironic, really, under the circumstances.
Oh,
We'll
dear.
speak again soon. Good night, everyone.
Okay.
Good night.
Oh, hello, it's you. Can I help you? You know, I'm not supposed to let you in, but if you go round the back, I could make you a drink. What are you doing? Oh, I see. You're the murderer, aren't you? What have they all done to you? Can't we talk about this? Stop it, you're scaring me!
Belle! Oh my God, Belle! Belle, what's happened? Belle! Belle, what's... Oh my God! Quick, I've got to call an ambulance. The police! Quick! 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 Hello?
Phil, I've got some dreadful news.
What on earth has happened? Huh, you'll be telling me there's been another murder.
There has. It's Belle.
Oh? I didn't quite hear you. I thought you said Belle's been murdered.
She was just lying there. It was dreadful.
Oh, no, that's awful. Not Belle.
Who could do such a terrible thing?
I'm sorry, Bob. I don't know what to say.
Well, Detective Chief Inspector Clouseau wants to talk to the group on Zoom. Can you contact him and arrange a meeting? I'm sorry, I can't be there.
Of course, Bob. Yes. It's just terrible news. I'll be in touch soon. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Evening.
Hi.
Yes, I'm pleased to see that Will White has joined us this evening. Would you care to tell the group of the circumstances of your absence, please?
Yes, my apologies for not turning up last time, but I've moved house. This is the house that my stepmother left me after she died, and I've only just had the internet connection put in, so this is the first time I can join you again.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Right. I've been asked by Detective Chief Inspector Clouseau, who you will see is attending this meeting. He will now take over and explain what exactly has happened.
Yes, thank you, Monsieur Plum. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am very sorry to have to speak to you all again as a group so soon after the last occasion, but unfortunately there has been another murder.
Oh.
Yes, I'm afraid to report that Belle Brown has been found murdered in her home.
Oh my God!
No, not Belle.
No, not Belle. No, she can't. No. Oh, Bob.
Please, consequently, I will need to speak to you all again as a matter of urgency. And therefore, I intend to call upon you all tomorrow at your own homes, with social distancing involved, of course, so we will have to meet in the garden. You will be sent a message by email tomorrow morning from the office to tell you what time I should be coming to your house. Okay, so thank you. I would also remind you to all be very vigilant, because it would appear that we do have a serial killer amongst us.
Oh no.
Thank you all. Good night, and I will see you all tomorrow morning.
Well,
Good night.
I don't think there's anything else we can say. It's rather traumatic. I will see you all in the morning.
Oh, see you in the morning.
Bye, everyone. Oh, God.
Good morning, Mrs. Black.
Good morning, Inspector.
I'm going to refer to the play Murder at the Manor, just in case there is any link with that and the murders in your drama group. Were you aware of any affairs that your husband had been having?
No. I don't know. I didn't really care. I've told you before, we led quite separate lives.
What was your involvement with Monsieur Gray?
Didn't have any involvement. We were just members of the drama group.
I know this is hard for you, Mrs. Black, but I would like you to try to answer the questions as honestly as you possibly can, so I will ask you again. What was your involvement with Monsieur Gray?
Okay, we'd been seeing each other for a while, but it was nothing serious. It was just a bit of fun. Billy was always out having fun. What's good for the goose and all that. I was flattered, and he was good company. Maybe you should ask people about Bellen's relationship with all the men in the group.
I will be doing so, Mrs. Black. Did Mr. Gray divulge any information to you regarding his relationship with other members of the group?
No, he didn't. He didn't talk about the group. Had much more interesting things to do.
Both Monsieur Black and Monsieur Gray were not particularly popular figures in the village, but you were happy to have a relationship with both of them.
Billy was a wealthy man, and Gary was handsome. I like socialising, so I had the money to be able to do with whom whatever I liked.
So, Madame Black, who do you think committed these murders?
Well, how the heck should I know?
I do believe that you are now quite a wealthy woman.
Yes, I suppose I am.
Thank you, Mrs. Black. That will be all for now. Good morning, Mrs. Rose.
Oh, good morning, Clouseau.
We have been made aware of some of the letters that you have sent to the victims, warning them not to continue with their relationships with Mrs. Brown. How did you know that they all had affairs with Mrs. Brown?
Belle told me about them. But she wasn't having an affair with them. She was an escort for them.
She wouldn't do anything more than give him a peck on the cheek.
Yeah, she didn't think twice about taking their money. She believed they had too much anyway. It was obvious that this wasn't going to end well, one way or the other.
What do you mean?
Well, what if the wives found out? Or Bob? Poor Bob. He would have been absolutely devastated. He idolised her. She couldn't do anything wrong in his eyes.
So you didn't carry out your threat?
Of course not. I just wanted them to stop. Somebody was going to get hurt. I never thought it'd happen like this, though. It's so dreadful.
Who do you think may have committed these murders?
Well, it's a bit of a coincidence that the men that have died so far are the same as the people who died in the play. But then poor Belle. Poor Belle. It could have been Bob, I suppose. He might have found out about the affairs and he couldn't cope. He really did love her. But it must have been the same person who committed the murders in the play.
Why do you say that?
Well, I don't know really. Oh, it's just so awful. But I don't want to think that there's more than one murder around us. One is enough.
Yes, well, thank you, Mrs. Rose. That will be all for now. Good morning, Mrs. Plum.
Oh, good morning.
Were you aware of any relationships between all of the victims?
I had my suspicions about Belle, you know, but I was never sure with whom or if there was anything going on.
I understand that Mrs. Plum held Mr. Brown in very high regard.
He never hid his feelings, but he was always joking, you know, that if he was single, he'd have had a go. But Belle was always very good at.
And what did you think of his jokes?
I don't take it to heart. We were happily married. Belle was always flirting with all the men. I secretly think Bob was turned on by it.
Why do you say that?
Well, he never said anything to her. He sort of humoured her. He was devoted.
You are the landscape gardener at the manor, Mrs. Plum. Perhaps you may have seen or heard of some gossip while you were going about your business. I'm sorry, Mrs. Plum, I did not mean to imply that you would gossip about whatever you may have seen, but that your comings and goings might have given you privy to sort of scandalous things, perhaps?
Well, whatever I was privy to, I would have kept to myself. I don't discuss these things with other people.
And who do you think may have committed these murders?
Hard to think of anyone that we know that would be able to carry out such vicious acts. I mean, well, there's that Will.
Yes.
I mean, he's a funny one. I mean, no one really knows anything about him, and he never tells you anything. The men used to keep away from him, and he used to always get embarrassed. And when Belle was about, it was just ridiculous.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's just a feeling, you know.
Yes, thank you, Madam Plum. That will be all for now. Good morning, Miss Goldham. What do you know about the affairs that Mrs. Brown had?
Oh, good morning. She was a bit of a flirt. I mean, she was always fluttering her eyes at the men. They all fell for it. Gary strayed once. Just the once, mind. He assured me it was a big mistake and he'd never do it again. I trusted him.
According to Mrs. Gemma Gray, that is Mr. Gray's first wife, she says that he was having an affair with you while still married to her. Is that correct?
Well, officially, they weren't exactly together.
Even though they were officially still living together?
Well, I didn't know that at the time. Anyway, he soon left her and divorced her when he knew that we were meant to be together.
And you trusted him to be loyal to you?
Well, of course I did.
Who do you think committed these murders?
Oh, as it seems to be following the plot of the play, it's obvious it's Bob. I mean, he must have been jealous and killed Belle because, well, to prevent her from hurting him anymore.
Thank you, Miss Gold. That will be all. Good morning, Monsieur Brown.
Good morning.
Did you believe that your wife was having an affair?
I don't think she'd have had an affair, especially not with any of the victims. After all, have you seen them? You know, she was just a big flirt. I loved her so much.
Of course, Monsieur Brown. Do you need some time out?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Now, if we take a look at the play, your character is the main suspect for the murders. How do you feel about that? And the fact that there appears to be some kind of link to the play?
Well, I think someone's tried to make it look as if I'd committed the murders to get them, let themselves off the hook.
Do you have any idea who could have committed the murders? And indeed, who might have wanted your wife dead?
Oh, she was adorable. I don't know who could possibly want to kill her. I mean, unless it was someone who wanted more from her than she was prepared to give. She was a bit of a flirt, and I often said she was treading on dangerous ground, you know, the way she was with other men.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. That will be all for now. Good morning, Monsieur Plum.
Good morning.
I understand that you used to be in the army. Did you ever come across Monsieur Black?
Yes, that's right. I was in the elite section of the armed forces, the paratroopers. That paths never actually crossed. So, but I had heard of him. He used to have quite a few men in a quake. He was a bit of a bully by all accounts.
What do you mean?
He used to speak to me and Pat as if we were general dog's bodies instead of business people who knew what we were doing with qualifications.
So, you didn't get on?
No, not at all. I used to go to the manor and do as many jobs as possible and get away as soon as, but at least he did pay well.
I'm sure that in your job you would have seen lots of comings and goings around the house. Were you aware of any of the affairs that Monsieur Black had?
I assumed that he was having an affair with Belle, but I didn't actually see anything.
What is your opinion of Mrs. Brown?
Well, she's a bit of a flirt. She will flirt with any men, any of the men, but I had my suspicions that if any of the men actually came on to her, that she would run a mile.
Did she flirt with you, and did you run a mile?
She always flirted with me. I just ignored her. I don't need her in my life. I'm a married man.
You seem to get on quite well with Monsieur Brown, and I understand that he showed you photographs of Madame Brown with the victims. What were your thoughts about that?
Oh, well, we used to chat quite regularly after rehearsals and stuff, and it became quite apparent that she was having many affairs.
Thank you. That will be all for now, Monsieur Plum. Good morning, Mr. White.
Good morning.
What is your relationship with the other members of the drama group?
Well, do you know, I really don't get on with them, to be honest. They're all a bit strange, very up themselves.
Why did you join the group?
Well, I moved to the village when my stepmother died. We'd lost touch over the years, and then my dad died, and then she moved to the village. She didn't have any family, so I was contacted by her solicitor to say that she'd died and that she'd left me the house. She kept herself very much to herself, so I didn't know anybody when I moved here, apart from Rita, Mrs. Rose, that is. She's a teacher at the school that I used to work at before I retired.
Yes.
I'd heard of the drama group and I'd seen posters round the village. Anyway, one day I was in the post office and Rita was there, and she suggested that I should join the group. Belle was working there and she heard our conversation.
Yes.
And she came out, and then she persuaded me as well to join the group.
Yes.
As I said, she was very, very persuasive.
Really?
Yes. And then Rita said, well, the group are looking for somebody to play an inspector in their play,
Yes.
Murder at
the manor. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, I thought, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a try.
Well, what did you think of Mrs. Brown?
Well, she's very attractive. And as I said, she was very persuasive.
Persuasive, you said, eh? Did she ever persuade you to be anything other than just friends?
Detective Chief Inspector, I take offence at that.
Oh.
I'm not that sort of man. And she's a married woman. She flirted with every man, and I was no exception. But that was all. In fact, I tried to steer clear of her. To be honest, she sort of frightened me a bit.
What about the victims? Do you think that she was having an affair with any of them?
I really don't know. I don't engage in village gossip. I keep myself to myself. It's the best way.
Yes. And who do you think could have committed these murders?
I really don't know. But you've only got to look what happened in the play. All the evidence points to Bob, Mr. Brown, because he did it in the play.
Thank you very much, Monsieur White. That will be all for now. Good morning, Mrs. Rust. What do you know about Mrs. Brown and her affairs?
Oh, I really don't know. She was such a flirt. Although I did try to speak to her about it a few weeks ago to suggest that she really shouldn't be carrying on the way she does. She should know better, especially as her husband's a member of the group. It must be really embarrassing for him to see her flirting with all the men.
And what did she say about that?
Well, she suggested that I should butt out of her affairs. Oh, good choice of words under the circumstances, and proceeded to flaunt herself in front of Gary, or was it Greg maybe, who was lapping it all up. Oh, I gave up trying in the end. There was no use trying to help her.
What about the victims? What is your opinion of them?
To be honest, they all tried to tell me how to do my job, because they all know better. Even though I'd written the damn play, I almost wish I hadn't written it now, with all these murders occurring.
And who do you think committed the murders?
Well, it's difficult to say. If you take the play and see how that panned out, then it must be Bob. But then Will is a bit of a shady character. I didn't really want him to play the inspector, but Rita and Belle ganged up on me, insisting he'd really like a part and that would be the best part for him.
Did you cast the members in their parts because they had a bit of a resemblance to their actual personalities?
I suppose it did, really. It meant that there would be a good chance that they would play their parts well.
Thank you, Mrs. Rust. That will be all for now. Ladies and gentlemen, you will now need to consider who you think committed the murders of Monsieur Billy Black, Monsieur Gary Gray, Monsieur Gregory Green, and Madame Belle Brown, and why you think they committed them. The following information about the suspects may help you to arrive at your conclusion. Madame Babs Black was secretly jealous that her husband spent more time with Madame Brown than he did with her, and she was embarrassed that the villagers were gossiping about her behind her back. Whilst having an affair with Monsieur Gray, she also discovered that he was also having an affair with Madame Brown, which traumatized her as she thought that she was the only one. She was even more infuriated when she discovered that Monsieur Green was also having an affair with Madame Brown, and that she was not the only one he was making advances towards. Maybe she didn't want them all laughing at her behind her back. She also stood to become a very wealthy woman once Monsieur Black was gone. Madame Rita Rose did not approve of how Madame Brown was behaving, acting as an escort for some of the most obnoxious men in the village. She sent letters to Monsieur Black, Monsieur Gray and Monsieur Green to suggest that it would be a good idea for them to end their carryings on, threatening to reveal those liaisons to their wives and partner. When she told Mrs. Brown what she has done, Mrs. Brown was very angry and told her that it was a dangerous thing to do. She was possibly afraid that the men would take their revenge. Although Belle was her friend, she was not happy with her interfering friend. Mrs. Pat Plum did not like the way her husband flirted with Madame Brown, and even though he said that he was only joking, she suspected that he was either secretly having an affair with her as well as the other men, or seriously wanted to have an affair with her. With Mrs. Brown out of the equation, her husband would not be tempted. She was employed by Monsieur Black to tend his garden, but he was a bully and always spoke down to her, which she resented. With regard to Monsieur Gray and Monsieur Green, she was jealous of Madame Brown, Why were they not interested in her? And why did she not have that effect on me? Monsieur Philip Plum was totally infatuated with Madame Brown, but unfortunately she would lead him on only to reject him. This angered him, as he knew that she was having an affair with Monsieur Black and Monsieur Grey and Monsieur Green, so why not him? He was desperate to be with her. He didn't care about Monsieur Brown or even his wife, because he only had eyes for Mrs. Brown. Monsieur Brown spoke to him about the secret meetings that his wife had had with the victims and about the photographs that he had taken. Monsieur Plum encouraged him, telling him he was right to feel jealous. So maybe he had the idea to murder the victims in the places where they had met up with Madame Brown, and he would also murder them in the same order as they had been murdered in the play, thinking that it would make Monsieur Brown the prime suspect. However, instead of killing his wife, he had to kill Mrs. Brown. Madame Gabigold was secretly jealous of Belle and how much time she spent with Monsieur Grey, having found out that he was still married when they got together. Maybe she thought that if he could do it once, he could do it again, even though he tried to assure her otherwise. She also didn't like the way he treated her in front of other people, within the drama group that is. So why Monsieur Black and Monsieur Green? She knew that they were having an affair with Madame Brown. Maybe she thought that they should have made advances to her. She didn't need Monsieur Grey because she is wealthy enough. Monsieur Bob Brown, coincidentally, his character in Murder at the Manor was the person who committed the murders. It was also a coincidence that his wife had been meeting with the same men as in the play, allegedly having affairs with them, although in truth she was acting as an escort for them, with no romance involved at all. The illicit liaisons of his wife were just too much for him to bear. She taunted him by flirting with all the men in the drama group, as well as the local men she came across in the post office where she worked. She was an embarrassment to him, and was the topic of conversation on everyone's lips. He was besotted with her, but he couldn't let her get away with what she was doing to him. He followed her and discovered that she had been meeting up with Monsieur Black, Monsieur Grey and Monsieur Green even during the lockdown at secret locations. He knew that she had been working for them, but having overheard people in the drama group discussing Madame Brown's movements, his suspicions seemed to have been proven correct. Maybe he had planned to murder the men in the places he'd seen them meet with his wife. The plot of the play and the real-life antics of his wife were just too much to bear. Monsieur Will White was infatuated with Belle and hated the way that Monsieur Black, Monsieur Grey and Monsieur Green treated her. He would have liked to have had Mrs. Brown to himself, so she was a good soul at heart, and he had been on his own for many years. He had heard all the gossip, but didn't believe that she could possibly be so immoral. Monsieur Brown seemed to turn a blind eye to her carryings on, but he was not happy about this either. He should be standing up for her and against everyone. There was no love lost between him and the other members of the drama group, apart from Madame Rose. If he had murdered Monsieur Black, Monsieur Grey and Monsieur Green, unfortunately the only option he had left was to murder Mrs. Brown. Madame Rebecca Rust used to carry a torch for Monsieur Brown, and seeing how Madame Brown had been behaving lately made her angry. She didn't like to see Monsieur Brown being used. Madame Brown was always flirting with all the men in the drawing room, and she felt very embarrassed for Monsieur Brown. Monsieur Black, Monsieur Grey and Monsieur Green all tried to tell her how to direct her play, the one she had written and had the vision of how it should be presented. And as an established writer, she resented this. Ladies and gentlemen, you now have 30 minutes to decide upon your verdict.